The old house stood on the edge of town, its windows shattered and walls covered in creeping ivy. A jagged silhouette against the dying light, it was a place of whispered legends and childhood dares. This was Hemlock House, and behind it lay the shadows, a dense forest that seemed to swallow the light. The forest was whispered to be the hunting ground of something unspeakable, a place where even the bravest dared not tread alone. 5 kids stood before the house, their laughter echoing in the stillness, masking the underlying tension. There was Max, the self-proclaimed leader, bold and cocky, always the first to take on a challenge. Emily, the skeptic, her arms crossed defiantly, always questioning the stories and the dares. Ben, the timid one, clutching his inhaler like a lifeline, his eyes darting nervously. Katie, the adventurous one, her eyes gleaming with excitement, always ready for the next thrill. And little Sam, the youngest, clinging to his sister Katie's hand, his small face a mix of fear and curiosity. "Last one to touch the porch is a rotten egg," Max yelled, taking off towards the house, his laughter ringing out. The dare hung in the air, heavier than the approaching darkness, a challenge that none could refuse. They all knew the stories, the tales told around campfires and whispered in hushed tones. The whispers of a creature that stalked the woods, Bigfoot, a legend that had haunted their dreams. But tonight, the thrill of the dare outweighed the fear. For now they were united in their quest, their hearts pounding with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Max reached the porch first, his chest heaving with exertion and pride. "See? Nothing to it," he boasted, though his eyes betrayed a flicker of doubt. Emily hesitated at the edge of the porch, her skepticism warring with her curiosity. "Are we really doing this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ben clutched his inhaler tighter, his breaths coming in shallow gasps. "I don't know, guys. Maybe we should go back," he suggested, his voice trembling. Katie squeezed Sam's hand reassuringly. "It's just a house, Sam. There's nothing to be afraid of," she said, though her own heart raced. They stood together, a small band of adventurers on the brink of the unknown, each one drawing strength from the others. The forest loomed behind them, a silent sentinel, its secrets hidden in the shadows. The night was just beginning, and so was their adventure. With a collective breath, they took their first step towards the house, the dare binding them together in a moment of shared courage. The house's dark windows seemed to watch them, as if aware of their presence, as if waiting. They reached the porch, their hands trembling as they reached for the door. The night was alive with possibilities, and the dare had only just begun. The forest welcomed them with a suffocating embrace. Gone was the golden light of dusk, replaced by an impenetrable blackness that seemed to press against their skin. The air grew heavy, thick with the smell of damp earth and decaying leaves.
"You sure about this, Max?"
"Scared, Benny boy?"
Max taunted, pushing past him. Emily, ever the pragmatist, pulled out her phone.
"There's no signal."
Her voice was tight. Sam shivered, burying his face in Katie's side.
"It's cold."
Katie wrapped her arm around him protectively.
"Don't worry."
She murmured, though her own heart hammered against her ribs. The forest had teeth, she realized, and it had just closed them around them. The deeper they ventured, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The forest seemed to close in around them, the trees towering like silent sentinels, their branches intertwining to form a nearly impenetrable canopy. The air grew thicker, almost suffocating, as if the forest itself was alive and watching their every move. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent shivers down their spines. The sounds were amplified in the eerie silence, each noise a potential threat lurking in the shadows. Their senses were heightened, every creak and groan of the forest floor making their hearts race. The darkness played tricks on their eyes, twisting familiar shapes into lurking monsters. Shadows danced and flickered, creating grotesque figures that seemed to move with a life of their own. The forest was a labyrinth of fear, each step deeper into its depths, pulling them further from the safety of the known world.
"Did you hear that?" The question hung in the air, a whisper of dread that echoed through the group. They strained their ears, trying to distinguish between the natural sounds of the forest and something more sinister.
Emily hissed, stopping abruptly. Her eyes were wide with fear, scanning the darkness for the source of the noise. The group halted, their breaths held in anxious anticipation. A low growl echoed through the trees, sending a jolt of fear through the group. It was a sound that didn't belong, a primal noise that spoke of danger and unseen predators.
"It's just the wind." Max's attempt at reassurance fell flat. his voice betraying his own fear. The wind howled through the trees, but the growl had been different, more menacing.
Max said, though his voice lacked its usual bravado. He tried to mask his fear, but the tremor in his voice was unmistakable. The forest seemed to mock his words, the growls still echoing in their minds.
Wind doesn't growl, Max. Katie's retort was sharp, her voice tight with apprehension. She knew the difference between the natural sounds of the forest and something more threatening.
Katie retorted, her voice tight with apprehension. Ben's breathing grew ragged. The fear was palpable, a tangible force that gripped them all. They were on edge, every nerve in their bodies screaming for them to turn back.
I want to go back. The child's voice was a quivering plea filled with terror. His small frame shook with fear, his eyes wide and pleading.
He stammered, his eyes wide with terror. The group exchanged worried glances, the child's fear mirroring their own. But there was no turning back, not now. They had come too far, and the way back was just as treacherous as the path ahead. But there was no turning back, not now. The forest had swallowed them whole, and the only way out was to keep moving forward. The path ahead was uncertain, shrouded in darkness and fear. They were in too deep. The forest had become a maze of shadows and whispers, each step taking them further into the unknown. Their only hope was to stick together and face whatever lay ahead, their courage the only light in the oppressive darkness. The eyes found them first. Two glowing orbs like embers in the inky blackness. They watched from the shadows, following their every move.
There!
Sam cried, pointing a trembling finger towards the trees. The eyes blinked once, twice, then vanished.
There's something out there.
Emily whispered, her voice laced with terror. The skepticism had vanished from her eyes, replaced by a primal fear. Max, trying to sound brave, scoffed.
It's probably just a raccoon or something.
But even he couldn't ignore the feeling of being watched, hunted. The feeling of something large and unseen moving through the trees, its gaze fixed upon them. A guttural howl ripped through the night, shattering the fragile silence. It was a sound that spoke of raw power, of untamed savagery, the sound of a predator announcing its presence. The children froze, their blood turning to ice in their veins. This was no animal they knew, this was something else, something ancient, something monstrous.
Run!
Max screamed, finally succumbing to the terror that had gripped them all. They scrambled through the undergrowth, branches whipping at their faces, their breath coming in ragged gasps. The forest floor seemed to tilt and sway beneath their feet, the trees blurring into an indistinguishable mass, but the creature was faster. It towered above them, a hulking silhouette against the moonlit sky. Its eyes burned with an eerie yellow light, its breath a cloud of steam in the cool night air. Matted hair, thick as rope, covered its massive frame, and its hands, tipped with claws the size of daggers, hung by its sides. Bigfoot. The creature roared again, a deafening sound that seemed to shake the very foundations of the forest. The children huddled together, their eyes wide with terror, their breaths caught in their throats. They were trapped. Terror lent them wings. They scattered, each child fleeing blindly in a desperate attempt to escape the nightmare that had become their reality.
This way?
Katie screamed, pulling Sam after her. They dodged between trees, their lungs burning, their legs screaming for respite. But the creature was relentless, its heavy footsteps pounding behind them like the drumbeat of their doom. Max, his bravado long forgotten, stumbled and fell, his ankle twisting beneath him. He cried out in pain, the sound swallowed by the relentless pursuit. The creature had Emily. She was backed against a towering oak, her eyes wide with terror, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The creature loomed over her, its fetid breath hot on her face, its eyes boring into hers. It reached out a massive hand, its claws inches from her face. Emily closed her eyes and waited for the end. But the end didn't come. Slowly, Emily opened her eyes. The creature was still there, its gaze fixed on her, but it wasn't hurting her. It was studying her. Then, with a gentleness that belied its monstrous appearance, it reached out and touched her cheek with a single calloused finger. A low rumble emanated from its chest, a sound that seemed almost mournful. Then, with a final glance at the terrified girl, the creature turned and melted back into the shadows, disappearing as silently and swiftly as it had appeared. Emily stood there for a long moment, her heart pounding, her breath ragged. She was alive, but the others... The search parties found no trace of the missing children. They combed the woods for days, tirelessly searching every nook and cranny, but the forest, as if guarding its secrets, yielded nothing. The dense canopy above seemed to swallow their voices, and the underbrush, thick and unyielding, resisted their every step. The searchers, driven by hope and desperation, pushed deeper into the heart of the forest, but it was as if the children had vanished into thin air. The only evidence of their passing was a single, muddy footprint, larger than any man's, found near the edge of the trees. This footprint, half hidden by the encroaching foliage, was a chilling reminder of the unknown. It was unlike anything the searchers had ever seen, and it sent shivers down their spines. The sheer size of the print suggested a creature of immense proportions, something that defied the natural order. The discovery of this footprint only deepened the mystery and fueled the legend. And so the legend of Bigfoot lived on, whispered in hushed tones around campfires and late at night. The stories grew with each retelling, becoming more elaborate and terrifying. Around the flickering flames, people spoke of sightings and encounters, of strange noises in the night, and glimpses of a towering figure moving through the trees. The legend became a part of the forest itself, an inseparable element of its dark allure. A cautionary tale of the dangers that lurked in the shadows, waiting to claim the unwary. Parents warned their children to stay away from the forest's edge, and hunters treaded carefully, always aware of the unseen eyes watching them. The forest, once a place of beauty and tranquility, became a realm of fear and mystery. The shadows seemed to move with a life of their own, and every rustle of leaves was a potential threat, a reminder that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, and some creatures are best left undisturbed. The forest held its secrets close, and those who ventured too far often paid the price. The legend of Bigfoot served as a warning, a testament to the power of the unknown. It was a story that transcended generations, a tale that spoke to the primal fear of the dark and the unknown. For deep in the heart of the shadows, beneath the watchful gaze of the ancient trees, something stirred, something ancient, something monstrous, and it was waiting. The forest, with its towering trees and impenetrable darkness, was a world unto itself. It was a place where the past and present intertwined, where legends came to life. And in its depths, the creature known as Bigfoot roamed, a guardian of the forest's secrets, a living embodiment of the unknown. The legend lived on, a testament to the enduring power of mystery and the human imagination.